Hi, I'm Tim Giuliani, President and CEO of the Orlando Economic Partnership. Today we're here with Rebecca Ryan, the founder and futurist at Next Generation Consulting. And the reason we're with Rebecca is that the partnership has undertaken a project, Orlando 2045, to look out over the next 20 years to understand how the world's changing, what's going to impact us here in Central Florida, and really how do we begin making sort of strategic decisions now that continue to position our region for growth and broad-based prosperity in a very fast-changing world. So a few questions for you. First, just go over this process.
Yeah.
Orlando 2045, it's using strategic foresight.
Yeah.
Tell us about the process.
I think the easiest way to help people understand what strategic foresight is to contrast it with what they're used to, which is strategic planning. So a typical strategic plan is 5 years. And what we tend to do is we look back over the last 5 years and say, what are our greatest hits?
Right.
And then how can we do those better, faster, or cheaper in the future? That's
Sure.
a traditional strategic planning process, a SWOT analysis. We're not doing that for Orlando 2045. We are saying, thank you past, thank you history, thank you for everything that these amazing leaders have done. And now our responsibility is to build for the next generation. So instead of saying, what have we done? We're asking, what's coming?
Right.
And instead of saying, how do we preserve our greatest hits? We're saying, what will our future greatest hits be? And how can we really capitalize on that? So strategic foresight is a 4-phase process. We're intentionally looking to 2045 and asking, what can Central Florida be? And what are the things we need to do to be future ready?
Right. So as we look into the future, obviously that's trying to digest a lot of change and a lot of trends. So when you come into this project, what are trends that you're already seeing globally, nationally, that we know we need to deal with or think about here in Central Florida?
Yeah, I'll give you just a couple that I know are big ones here as well. We're seeing these nationally and internationally. The first one is churn. We have more people moving to this region than ever before. You're going to add a plus million people through 2045, or maybe even earlier than that. That means the complexion of this region is going to be different. So how do we ensure high quality of life for a million more people? The second one we're looking at is the color, brownouts, because we know that we are putting more and more demand on the grid.
Yeah.
And we have a grid that was originally built in the 1800s. It is like the most intact machine that is still, kind of has survived, but it's going to need to be different in the future.
Yeah.
So those are two that are going to impact this region pretty hard.
Yeah, we're already starting to see it from the economic development perspective of sort of that really high as all these EVs come online. We all have more devices that we're plugging in. It's just, that's an interesting challenge we're going to have to solve here, especially with fast growing population.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people, that are involved in the organization. There's a lot of stakeholders. Really our organization is called a partnership. So it's really made up of a lot of partners that all want to see broad-based prosperity in Central Florida. It's companies, it's governments, it's nonprofits, it's higher ed. And so we kind of bring that group together. So this process is important because it seeks to take input from those stakeholders. So talk a little bit about how this process facilitates that input and how people can have their voice heard in this process.
Well, number one, I just want to thank you and congratulate you, because in this new era that we're moving into, post-COVID, increasing digitalization, transitions in the workforce, you must have a broad-based coalition to build a future.
Right.
So thank you for doing that. But one of the truths I've learned over the course of my career is people support what they help build. This has always been true,
Yes.
but you guys are intentionally saying, we're going to set a big table, we're going to invite people to come in. So at every phase in this process, we have a way for people to make a contribution. Sometimes it's very lightweight, like take a quick survey.
Right.
Sometimes it's like, can you give us a couple hours of time to really wrestle with the future? But I promise it will always be fun. So if folks go to orlando.org, they'll be able to see all the ways that they can engage.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks, Rebecca. We really appreciate you coming to Central Florida to help facilitate this process. And we hope that you'll log on orlando.org and find a way to have your perspective shared through this process.